A few more things that might help you get going in Illustrator as we start our first projects is the align tools. So I'm gonna actually show you a new shortcut before we go there. So while I have this shape selected, I'm gonna hold the Option key on my keyboard while I click and drag off of my shape. And that is a way to duplicate even faster than Command C, Command V, which is copy and paste. So I can hold that Option key and click and drag and get a whole bunch of shapes real quick. I can also rubber band select and do the same thing, duplicate it. And you'll see these little guides pop up, these pink lines and the arrows. That helps you kind of like center things and distribute them. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it doesn't work great. You'll see I'm kind of like playing with this a little bit. So what's cool and super helpful when you're working in Illustrator is the align options. So I'm going to select just these first two little shapes. And you'll see when I have that up here, these align options came up. So whenever you have things selected, it'll be there. It can also have its own window. So if you go to Window and Align, this will pop up as well. And you can kind of move this over. Sometimes I have this one kind of hooked in my panels, so I can drop them like this. And then they're always here too. And then I can just grab them when I need them. There we go. And so what this does is it lets you align it in different ways. So you'll see it's here where it says Align to. You can do Selection, Key Object, or Artboard. I use Selection and Artboard the most. Up here, it's right here. So Align to Artboard, Align to Selection. I'm going to change it to Align to Selection. And then I want to vertically align the centers of these two shapes. And that's going to be this one. Again, you can always hover and it'll tell you what it is. So I'm going to horizontally align the center. Let me do that so you can see it better. So now when I click it, it has aligned these two with each other centered. If I did that to the artboard, let me move all those guys over there. Got those both selected. I'm going to change this to artboard. You'll see it centered it perfectly on my paper. You'll start to see that you can work these in interesting ways. If I have them both selected, I'm going to group them because I like where they are next to each other. And then I'm on artboard and I vertically align the center. It's going to put it in the exact center. So I went center, center, and it's in the exact center of my artboard now. And there's a lot of ways to work this. Another, let me get these three, would be to horizontally distribute. So those are over here. I'm going to change it to Selection and horizontally distribute and see what it does. See how it moved that middle one? So now they're evenly spaced out. They're also not centered themselves. So I'm going to vertically align the center. So I vertically aligned the center and I horizontally distributed them. And you can just kind of play with these ones to see what they do. But that's super helpful so that sometimes it's hard to see if something's perfect. Another way to do it is to turn on the grid. So if you go to View, Show Grid, or it's Command apostrophe, and that gives you a grid underneath that wouldn't be visible when you printed, but it's just another way to be like, oh, look, I've got 1, 2, and a little over 2 columns there, and I've got 1, 2, and a little over there. And that's a nice way to help you kind of line things up too. Or if you just want to like put things on the same edge, that kind of thing. So that's helpful. And you can turn it off by doing the same thing or Command apostrophe. Other panels that are helpful are the stroke panel. This one is another one where you can click on the little horizontal lines and do show options. Let me give this a stroke so we can see something. So I'm going to turn the weight up here so it's a little bit thicker. You'll see there's different options about what happens in the corners and on the edges of a stroke. And then down here it says profile. You can change the kind of shape of it so it has like a thin to thick. It gets thin to thicker to thin. And there's all these different kind of line qualities there. There's also in brushes, I'm going to expand this one down. This has just some basic default ones, but this changes kind of the line quality as well. And what's really cool is when you go into the menu down here, just like we had with the colors in artistic, there's calligraphic lines, I never say it right, that totally change kind of how the line is operating. There's ones that, I really like all the artistic ones. There's ones that look like charcoal or chalk. There's ones that look like ink. Some of them look kind of funky. You have to kind of control it as you're working with them better. But just to give you the idea, there's a lot of kind of effects and qualities to line that you can give to an object.